In the year 2025, the global landscape is once again on the brink of change as economic warfare continues between two of the world's most powerful superpowers, the United States and China. With the return of Donald Trump to the White House, the question on everyone's mind is simple. Can Trump win a trade war with China? This isn't just a question about tariffs and trade imbalances. It's about geopolitics, economic strategies, and the future of global power. Let's break down the complexities of this looming trade battle, explore its potential consequences, and ask whether Trump's vision for America's economic supremacy can truly succeed in this new world order. The term trade war has become almost synonymous with the Trump presidency. During his first term, tariffs were at the heart of his economic agenda. Trump believed in the power of tariffs, essentially taxes on foreign goods entering the U.S., as a tool for rebalancing global trade. He argued that tariffs would force other nations, especially China, to play by American rules, correcting what he saw as unfair trade practices that had resulted in a massive trade deficit for the U.S. with China. The key question, however, is whether this aggressive approach can work in the long run, especially as the U.S. economy faces new challenges and China continues its rise as an economic powerhouse. First, let's take a closer look at what a trade war actually means. At its core, a trade war is a tit-for-tat exchange of tariffs, where each country imposes tariffs on the other's goods in retaliation for perceived unfair practices. While tariffs are often framed as taxes on imports, the reality is more nuanced. It's businesses, not governments, that often bear the brunt of these costs. In the case of the U.S.-China trade war, companies importing Chinese goods may face higher prices, which can then be passed on to consumers in the form of increased prices for everyday products. This creates a ripple effect across the economy, potentially driving up inflation and reducing the purchasing power of consumers. Trump's strategy during his first term was clear: impose heavy tariffs on Chinese goods to force China into a trade deal that would level the playing field for U.S. businesses. But even as he celebrated some of the early successes, such as getting Mexico and Canada to agree to increased border security in exchange for avoiding tariffs, critics pointed out that the broader consequences of a trade war were yet to be fully realized. While Trump's tactics may have worked in some instances, such as with Canada and Mexico, the full-scale confrontation with China presents an entirely different set of challenges. One of the main reasons Trump targeted China was the trade deficit. The U.S. imports far more from China than it exports. In 2025, this imbalance continues to be a major point of contention. The U.S. imports hundreds of billions of dollars worth of goods from China every year, while its exports to China are much smaller. For Trump, this lopsided relationship is a sign that the U.S. is losing the trade battle, and the only solution is to bring China to the negotiating table by increasing the cost of doing business with the U.S. But as we saw in the early stages of this conflict, this strategy is far from straightforward. China, for its part, has always been reluctant to escalate matters into an all-out trade war. As the world's largest exporter, China's economy is heavily reliant on trade, and a trade war would hurt its own economic interests. Despite this, China's response to Trump's tariffs was swift and strategic. Beijing imposed its own tariffs on U.S. goods, targeting key industries such as agriculture, technology, and energy. It also leveraged non-tariff measures, including investigations into U.S. companies like Google, to further counter U.S. economic pressure. In the face of Trump's tariffs, China is already exploring ways to diversify its economy, reduce its reliance on the U.S. market, and strengthen its trade ties with other nations, especially in Africa, Europe, and Latin America. But can these countermeasures withstand the full weight of Trump's economic pressure? In 2025, the economic stakes are even higher than they were during Trump's first term. China's economy has grown significantly, and it is no longer just a manufacturing hub for low-cost goods. The country has become a global leader in high-tech industries, ranging from telecommunications to artificial intelligence. As China continues to expand its technological prowess, it becomes less vulnerable to tariffs that primarily target traditional manufacturing sectors. Moreover, China's global trade influence has been steadily increasing. The Belt and Road Initiative, which aims to connect China to markets across Asia, Europe, and Africa through massive infrastructure investments, has allowed China to strengthen its economic ties with countries that are less reliant on U.S. markets. This means that while the U.S. may impose tariffs on Chinese goods, China can find alternative markets for its products. The ability to shift trade patterns and secure new trade partnerships means that China is in a much stronger position to weather the storm of a prolonged trade war. For the U.S., the economic impact of the trade war could be even more pronounced. While Trump may view tariffs as a way to reduce the trade deficit and force China to open its markets, economists warn that the real costs of a trade war are borne by U.S. consumers. Higher tariffs could lead to higher prices for a wide range of goods, from electronics and clothing to food and household items. This could squeeze American households, particularly those in the middle and lower income brackets, who are already feeling the effects of inflation. In this scenario, Trump's plan to reduce the cost of living for Americans could be undermined by the very tariffs he imposed to protect U.S. industries. In addition to the direct impact on consumers, there are broader economic ramifications. The Federal Reserve could be forced to adjust interest rates in response to rising inflation, which could slow down economic growth and hurt businesses across the country. While Trump's aggressive trade policies may be designed to help U.S. manufacturers and workers, the long-term consequences could be more complex. The U.S. economy, though still the largest in the world, is more intertwined with the global economy than ever before. A trade war could disrupt global supply chains, affect investments, and lead to economic uncertainty, which in turn could dampen the very growth Trump seeks to achieve. So what about the political angle? Trump has often used tariffs as a tool not just for economic leverage, but also for political bargaining. For instance, he has suggested that China could play a role in helping to resolve the ongoing war in Ukraine by using its influence over Russia. If China were to agree to leverage its relationship with Russia in exchange for tariff relief, it would mark a dramatic shift in the dynamics of global politics. Trump's ability to strike such deals is part of his broader transactional approach to diplomacy, where everything has a price. But is China willing to bend to Trump's demands? While China may be prepared to make concessions in order to avoid a prolonged economic standoff, it is unlikely to give in fully to U.S. demands. The Chinese government has made it clear that it will not back down on certain core issues, such as its control over its internal market and its political influence in the global order. In a way, both Trump and Xi Jinping are playing a high-stakes game of chess, where each move has far-reaching consequences. And while Trump may have the upper hand in the short term, China's long-term strategy of economic expansion and diversification could allow it to outlast the pressure. As the trade war unfolds in 2025, one thing is clear: this is not just about economics. It's about global power, national pride, and the future of international relations. While Trump may believe that tariffs can force China to bend, the question remains whether this approach will ultimately benefit the American people. Will Trump's vision of a stronger, more self-reliant America be realized, or will the complexities of the modern global economy force him to reconsider his approach? In the end, the answer to whether Trump can win a trade war with China may not be as straightforward as it seems. Both sides have much to lose, and while the battle lines have been drawn, the true outcome of this economic conflict will depend on a wide range of factors, from technological advancements and geopolitical alliances to shifts in global market dynamics. As we move into 2025 and beyond, the trade war between the U.S. and China will continue to shape the world's economic future, and the stakes have never been higher.